Hello. This is Teresa Phelps Martin here to share with you ways that you can live more mindfully, where you can really come alive with intention and honor the energy of you so that we can live brilliantly together. I am sharing this with you as we invoke in a quite a journey of transformation. Let's see, I'm recording this. It's November of 2020, and we all know that 2020 has been nothing but great, drastic change globally. It is just all different. What was a year ago is no longer. I told a friend that we should have been is the theme of 2020 because we didn't do any of it. None of us saw it coming. So, in that energy, I have this opportunity to share more of what is keeping me afloat through this great time of churning the waters of humanity. And that is astrology. And if you've been around me at all, you know that I live by and love the moon. And that moon energy is our emotional body. It is the one luminary in the sky with the sun, but the moon is more of that subtlety. Well, every month, the moon, our subtle and subjective reality, sits at the exact same position in the sky as the sun. It is called conjunct, or more popularly known as a new moon. And so when you have a conjunction, you have a new cycle. That is Lulu, my sweet puppy, who's also communicating this new beginning that we're in. So what happens is that throughout time, the sun and the moon come together. The sun also comes together with Venus and Jupiter and Pluto. The celestial bodies dance around us, and the energies that illuminate us, or the luminaries, are the sun and the moon. So for a beginner, you just start there, and you can start to dive into the cycles of the moon. And as you dive into the cycles of the moon, we realize that we have a new beginning where we can move inward and tune into the energy of ourselves, and more specifically an area of that energy, which right now is Scorpio. And then next month it'll be Sagittarius. And the month after that it'll be Capricorn. And the month after that it'll be Aquarius. And the month after that it'll be Pisces. And so then we go around all 12 signs, which actually gives us guidance of how to work with the evolution of our soul. And with that journey, we know there's going to be stress. We know there's going to be challenges. We know there's going to be tension and opposition. There's also going to be harmony and ease and comfort, but it's all alignment. And the cosmos are really about bringing beauty out of the chaotic order and enhancing our lives in a way that we connect more fully and more completely to our soul's journey, to the energy of ourselves, and we can step forward with compassion. Okay, that's the way I look at astrology in a nutshell. So this month, and this is the beautiful thing, the sun and the moon are so consistent with our earth, because we're all human beings, we all live on planet earth for billions of years. Billions of years it's been in this dance, and here we are. We get to live with it. We get to be a part of it and show up for it. So maybe if I'm doing this and getting vulnerable with you, you can get vulnerable with yourself and dive into the connection with you and recognize that we all hold potential to shine brilliantly together. All right? So in that journey of consistency, we have change. And 2020, back to 2020, is full of that change. It is full of breaking down structures and boundaries and ways of living. And that's where we want to work with the esoteric energy, which is just the energy that isn't as common. It is more subtle. It is harder to put your finger on it because it's not as tangible, because a lot of it is unseen. Just like the moon, we will not see the moon when it sits with the sun. It's called a dark sky, a dark night. And really, in my opinion, what it is there's this like coming together, there's this union to reset and recharge and return to the journey of ourselves, and that happens every 28 days. The moon is the closest celestial planet to our earth, and the sun is what we live by. So these are just great entry points, and when you start to live by the moon, you start to live in a greater rhythm where you feel more supported in your journey. So, Scorpio friends, if you know your sun sign is in Scorpio, then this is all about you. This is your time. This is really a beautiful and powerful reset for you. But not to steal your thunder, but everybody has Scorpio in them. That's just how it is. They are the symbols and the energy that we all have in Scorpio. If you're in the northern hemisphere, we are watching the death of the season, right? We are watching the light pull away and the earth turn and move further from the light, because it happens every year. It's known as autumn, and the leaves fall and the flowers fade and everything kind of dissolves if you live away from the equator. And we start to have less light, and so we really are in that cycle of death, which you can't have death without rebirth, and you can't have rebirth without death. So Scorpio is the darkness, it's the transformation, it's the power of us. It is so beautiful. That's why it can sting, that's why it can hurt, but it doesn't need to sting from the place of being secretive and hiding out, but there's a potency to it, and yours truly has a lot of Scorpio energy. It just shows up in a little chit chat of Gemini, because I talk and I talk fast, so keep up. So in this new moon flavor, we want to realize that that means the sun and the moon sit in the sky, and we're sitting in the 12 hours after the moon catches up with the sun, because the moon caught up with the sun 4 weeks ago, 28 days ago, and it went whoom, all around, and now it's like, hey, I'm back. Guess what? Here's what we need to do this time. And the sun will illuminate that area for us that we need to connect with. And so what's interesting, though, is that as this moon catches up, the moon will then, 12 hours later, dive into the next sign of fire. Scorpio is water, Sagittarius is fire. So it means business. It means, hey, look, we've been doing this work. Let's get it right this time. And so that's what I'm here for. Wildly enough, I printed this out on a piece of paper that I pulled out of a notebook that said November 2019. So there was something inside of me that said, hey, I'm going to reserve this piece of paper for what's coming. I just didn't know it'd take me a year, but I'm learning how to slow down. And that is really the invitation that we're all being given. Honor and love what has fallen away. What do you no longer have access to? I no longer have access to teaching a yoga practice, a practice of transformation in person, to do it safely and effectively for myself, my family, and the people that I teach. So in that process, I can grieve that. I can also grieve the grief. That grief is part of, right? It's the closure of 2020. Some people just want to have a party, a celebration, but it's really the ending of the start of this new decade. So slowing down and giving yourself room to nurture and care for the parts of you that have faded. You might have lost somebody you love. You might have lost friendships. You might have lost connection with families or ways, or your job or your livelihood. There's a dissolving that's happening, but it doesn't disappear forever, because that energy that you tapped into, right? I lost 2 dogs and I gained a new one, and she's completely different, and it's a completely different journey for us. So, but that energy I have from my prior 2 dogs that were with me and companions and right hands, companions with me, and almost died with me one time. You know, they're guiding me in how to be a mom to this puppy. And as a matter of fact, I knew I wanted another cockapoo. So I thought it was name was going to be Cosmo. It's not. It's Lulu, which is short for Bella Luna, the glorious moon, the beautiful moon. So back to the idea of transformation. This moon is your invitation to really honor and respect the transformation. Now, what's interesting is that this moon will cycle where the full moon that follows, because the lunar cycle or all planetary cycles are, it goes conjunct, opening, challenge, illumination or opposition, and then closing, challenge, and then back to conjunct. And so what that means is new moon, first quarter moon, full moon, right, where it's big and fat and illuminates the sky. Well, I'm just having a little epiphany as I'm sharing something. It illuminates the sky, and then it will close out, and then we'll be in the new moon of Sagittarius, right? So what's interesting right now, and until next August, the new moons happen so far in the journey of Scorpio that the full moon's actually in Gemini. So the moon is leading the way. The moon will jump into Sagittarius in its new cycle, and then a few days later, a week later, the sun will go into Sagittarius. And usually the sun is already there, and then the moon catches up, and the sun is moving along, and then the moon is joining in the journey, right? Right now, woo! Lulu's getting feisty here. In that journey, she gets excited when I talk stars. In that journey, we really want to realize that for the next, I said until August, we're in this journey of our emotional body being in charge. And Scorpio season is a beautiful time to really honor the deep emotional waters. And those deep emotional waters are nothing to be scared of because they are the currency of our soul. When we can feel our emotions and address the wounds of our heart, of our values, of our energetic system, then we can actually address the elements of our lives that need attention, that need revamping and rebuilding and transformation, that really need new ways of engaging with life in a very, very respectful and compassionate way. So, in the name of Scorpio and in the journey that we're on, that is the energy of this new moon cycle. So you can specifically, if you understand astrology and you understand how to read a chart, you don't need to, that you could go and look at where Scorpio is on your chart. Scorpio for me is in my chart. Oh shoot, where is Scorpio in my chart? Duh. I'm not going to answer that. It's in my 12th house. So it's the ending, okay? That's really funny that I forgot that. So anyhow, so it's really about closure for me, okay? So let's say Scorpio is in your first house, okay? It's really how are you, or your rising sign. How are you going to rise up and be this energy of a healer and respect the emotions and tune into that? This is part of your personality and don't deny it any longer. If it's in your second house, what is the energy of Scorpio that is really about the energy of you, your emotional well-being, your emotional body, your land? How do you take the energy of you and share it? Because Scorpio energy is about shared resources. So if we can heal ourselves, if we can go in and understand our inner energy, then we can heal each other. Okay. If it's in your third house, how are you handling the emotional landscape of these side-by-side relationships? How are you really allowing the way you engage with your sisters and your brothers, or your aunts and your uncles, or your extended family, or your friends that are family, the network that you engage with regularly, that you exist side by side with each other? How can you let that emotional body respect that energy in the way you communicate, the way you articulate your emotions with them? If it's in your fourth house, what emotions in your home that you want to address, that you want to respect and understand, and It's in the basement, by the way. It's really deep. It's from your heritage. What needs to be addressed and healed? Lou is so gonna knock over my whole setup here. And if it's in your fifth house, how can you have fun with these deeper, darker places of you? How can you allow that energy of you to come out and play and laugh and find a little humor around the serious nature of our lives and let it be center stage for a little bit? It doesn't mean you have to be super dramatic, okay? This is high five. This is how do you transform the way you play in life, okay? If it's in your sixth house, how do you invite the transformational practices on a daily basis? How can you look at what your day-to-day has been and what you want your day-to-day to be like? If it's in the seventh house, that's all about relationship. So how do you want to relate with others from this respect and compassion that we're all in this evolutionary cycle together? And if it's in the eighth house, how do you let yourself hold space for other people's emotional land and process that level of depth and death? And if death freaks you out, look at it as a rebirthing, because if you're going through loss, this is a very powerful subject for me. If you're going through loss, you're really going through a birth, because your normal is completely brand new. Your life is never the same way again. It just isn't. There's a hole in your heart that is always there. You just eventually get used to the hole, and so it becomes part of you, and you experience of reality where you learn how to love without being able to see your love there with you. And the ninth house, how do you explore? What is everybody feeling right now? What is the big picture? How are these emotions teaching us and guiding us? And the whole planet, what is the big picture? What is the collective emotional landscape? I get a little dramatic, sorry. And finally, we're going to go into Capricorn. How can this understanding of how can you be ambitious about your emotions and understand how can you be ambitious with this transformation and help rebuild and help kind of renovate not just your life, but the life of the world that you engage with in your community? 11th house is what's the network of your friends? What's the transformation of those people that you connect with? Or perhaps you're ready to connect with people who love to talk stars and planets and astrology, or the tarot, or anything that's, not considered normal. Like, be a little radical, be a little outside the box, be a little bold and brave to say, you know what, I'm tired of ignoring this part, and I know I would find my people if I reached out. And then the 12th house, where my Scorpio is. How do you really let the culmination of this whole journey melt into the waters of your subconscious so that you can really let the lessons of your life journey so far guide you and direct you? Okay. So you learned a little bit of each house related to Scorpio. That is a total cliff note. But coming back, if that's you're like, whoo, girl, I'm good. Peace out. I love you. I adore you for showing up. And just be mindful that everybody, even Mother Earth in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, they're like, spring is ignited. It's on fire. They're coming alive. So with that, I swear my dog is part cat. With that note, and in the journey, if you want to go further, I'm sharing with you some insights that I have that came up with the Virgo New Moon. And Virgo is earth energy and Scorpio is water energy. So if you were part of the lunar gestation or the lunar family class that I did, it was by invite only, so don't be offended if you weren't invited. It's because you haven't told me that you're interested in this stuff and that you want to learn more and that you want it to be a part of your life. So we know that the cycle is actually longer than these 28 days, but that's a little too abstract for most of us. But what I talked about with the Virgo new moon, it's the last time we had more of a feminine new moon, because what we have in our life is we have masculine and feminine energy, or we have polarities of values and resources and nurturing and connection and beauty. And then we also have this energy or yielding and being receptive and reflective and responsive. Then we also all have this energy of ambition and drive, like we see what we want and we go and get it. That is considered the masculine energy. It is not gender specific. Those are just the names: divine or sacred feminine and divine or sacred masculine. We all have them. And so when you know your chart, you know if you have more of the masculine energy. I have a ton of air in my chart, but I also have a ton of water. And that's why there's emotions behind my words. So when you understand this, you can understand, oh, this is a time to be reflective. And for the next year, I'll really be focusing on the water and the earth energies in this transition that we go, because we're really stepping into a more active air, mental, intellectual space. So I know too much information, but it's how I am. And some of you, if you're a deep diver, you like these little nuggets that I'm giving you. So with that, I shared in the Virgo new moon, as it was coming and as I discovered these lunar families and way the cycles go, that this moon's energy is going to be with us for the next 2.5 years. And it's really a calling of the sacred. It's calling in the sacred feminine. It is a time, and Scorpio, by the way, is the powerhouse of femininity. So if you have Scorpio rising, that is such a call of your soul to really hold the realm of rising up into all the transformation you've been through, and allow that to help guide you and lead one another. And in that land of calling on the sacred feminine, it's really about, it's not a hierarchy, but it's about respecting the value of the feminine energy. It's about respecting the need to slow down, which you can't deny that we've all been slowed down. And it has been ungodly painful for some people, because guess what? You can't hide, you can't keep your emotions a secret anymore. They are there and they're real, and you see them every day and you feel them every day. And in that journey, sometimes they are just all devouring. Please call a friend if they are, or stay the course and know that you're moving through something with so many other people. So the call on the feminine is to not do it alone, but really lean into the collective, to allow ourselves to surrender, to allow ourselves to get really clear on what our values are and orient ourselves from that value system. It's the way we handle resources, our resources of Mother Earth, our resources of our own finances, our resources of the air we breathe and the food we eat, and the way we share those resources, since we're in a Scorpio energy. And in that land, so now I'm going to go into a little deeper dive of all of this. In this dialogue, what we have is the sun and the moon are like, oh yeah, we're together. We do this every month. We're good. But the moon has just circled around and had conversations with all the planets, and is carrying that wisdom with her as she's like, hey, I know I move way faster than you, and I keep the gravity on point for all these earthly humans, and I reflect your energy back to them through this cyclical engagement. And so they're joining up again. They're like, okay, meeting. Here we are. We're at 23 degrees, which means we're just at the fully more evolved state of this energy. They're getting the lesson. Who else is at the party? And actually, everybody's at the party. Okay, the cosmic party. Everybody is there. Where are the conversations? Well, the conversations are hanging out in Capricorn just a little bit longer. Not for the... This is the end of the party. The party is over after this cycle, okay? Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. Jupiter and Saturn are the social regulators, and one is our limitations and one is our benevolence and our opportunity. And they have been hanging out with the energy of transformation. And that is more of a transpersonal nobody is excused by this transformation. So the conversation between these five is like, oh yeah, man, do you think they got the message? Do you think they realize that we really mean business about this transformation? Parties breaking up. Hey, we've done great. Nobody can deny the darkness of being a human right now. And I say this with a little sense of humor, maybe even a little drama, because we have to lighten up. We have to be willing to let go of what was. And part of that letting go is our ambitious drive, our need to it all be in the same way. We really have to be leaders and use this wisdom of our own selves, of our collective history of humanity, and how can we rebuild together. So the other conversation, Mercury's like, oh, hold up. Mercury rules the mind, okay? It's like, oh, no, you hold up. You come talk to me and keep me included, because guess what? Guess who moves second fastest around the sun? I do. So I'm going to be in dialogue almost as much as the moon, and I rule everybody's mind. So everybody's thought patterning. So keep me in the loop. So Mercury is there having conversations as well. And it's really sweet, and this conversation is really kind and loving with the big sister Neptune. Neptune is the one who's just dreaming of other worlds and other ways of being, and just hoping everybody can be part of this mystical connection and respect spirituality, not religion per se. You could be spiritual and not religious, and you can also be religious and not spiritual. So I'm separating the two. How do you allow your sense of spirit, the way you engage and understand that it is an opportunity to be alive? And Pisces is, and the Neptune is in Pisces, and they're one and the same. Any kid who's been born in the past 10 years has Neptune in Pisces. It's just the dreamers, the visionaries, and the mystics. So this is all like, oh yeah, like let's, it's not about everybody saging, because that's not using the resources of earth in the best way. Now you can grow your own herbs and create your own sage and really work with the energy of you, okay? Coming back to Scorpio. It is our emotional body. It is our energetic body. And this is what we want to tap into. Now, here's the deal. There's another conversation going on with Venus. And I'm telling you right now, our values are essential. You've got to find the connection to what's valuable every day. It is what will bring the beauty. Venus is... My dog is drinking my water. Oh my goodness. Okay. Venus is at home in Libra right now, and she is the one throwing the party, and she is the one who's made it all beautiful. And you might be like, oh dude, this ain't pretty. This has just been a dark year. It's been an intense year. It's made me deal with like the stuff that I was always too busy to deal with. And we've all been slowed down. And she's like, hey, look, I'm never in a difficult debate with anybody, but I am in dialogue. And Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn, here's the deal. We've been doing a lot. And Pluto and Lou, come here. She's like, get me out of here. Pluto and Venus are tight, but I don't see it as tension of like battling heads. It's like, all right, game on. This is going to be a little rough on everybody. This next year of having to lean into our new reality is going to be a little uncomfortable, because anytime you lose something, the first year is rather intense. You got to go through it all again to breathe more deeply. So I really believe that our values and our soul's evolution are like, all right, this is it. This is our energy, and here we go. And she's like, and I'll see you in a couple months. And in that, Mars is in Aries, and it's home in Aries. It wants to be dry. It's ready. Let's be independent. Let's make things happen. Let's go. And it's been like in this zone for a long time, moving backwards, like sent to its room is what I've said. Even though it wasn't sent to its room, it's just like, nope, you got to learn this new thing. And so Mars is behind this journey that we've been on in the whole year. And it's going to cycle all the way through and say, I'm about to have a whole bunch of conversations with all these other regulators in the sky, and Mars is a personal planet, Mercury is a personal planet, and Venus is a personal planet. And they're like, hey, you really have to re examine the way you engage with your values and the way you go out to get what you want. We're in this together. As a collective, we have to figure out how to come together. It doesn't mean that we have to have the same values. It wouldn't be good if we all had the same values. If we all valued lilac, there wouldn't be enough lilac to go around. I know, weird example, but it's true. So Mars and Venus are in opposition. They want us to meet in the middle. We have independent Mars and we have relationship oriented Venus. What's the middle? I heard somebody say this is like, how can I be independent in the relationship? How can I respect the relationship but still hold my own ground? Because otherwise you get lost. So this is the dance of the year. Did I leave anybody out? Yes, Uranus, the rebellion. That's just like, hey, look, I'm ahead of you guys, kind of. I'm also behind you. We got to break ground on how we're going to do things differently. Think of all the shock your life has experienced. Uranus is shocking. And so it's kind of like, what's the next news breaking story that's going to come through that's going to impact the way we live on this earth together? What's the next breaking story that's going to share how we engage with the resources of our earth? Because Taurus is all about, it's also ruled by Venus, by the way. And so Mercury is getting this little like, hey, guess what? This is what some people are going to be challenged by, but we can do this. And we can make it because I know you're going to go be the messenger because Mercury is the messenger. And the sun is going to keep illuminating how we can do it as we go on. Because here's the good news, you guys. The planets have been around longer than you or I. And they repeat themselves. So in 1771, we had this engagement between Pluto and Jupiter before. It's just been a long time. We also had the engagement in June and April. If you looked back to just your year, June and April, you're going to have insight of like, how can I expand the evolution of my soul in a way that it can bring forward benevolence? Venus is going to be our guide. She's going to ask us to keep calling in our sense of spirituality. So for any men looking at this, how do you welcome in more receptivity and not just quick and fast and get the job done? But we're really in a land of conversation of how do we cultivate long-term joy, which means there's going to be short-term discomfort. But if we can make choices for the longevity, then what we will discover is that long-term joy is accessible. And I'm not talking about, there's always going to be the different class systems. There have been since the beginning of time, but we can be more aware of it and we can broaden our awareness to work more of the collective whole and find new ways of technology, new ways of communicating, new ways of networking, and realize that no, it's not all fun and games, but we can do it. We can so do this. And so this cosmic guidance is here for you so that you can live more mindfully. If you can go from big picture back to yourself, just honor the transformation you're in. Give yourself room to find closure, conscious closure. Maybe it's the year, maybe it's the hardships you've experienced, and really look at this as a chance to step forward into a new way of being and a new way of coexisting and co-creating and working with the collective energy to once again bring beauty from the chaos. I thank you. My Lulu is now asleep. She did her whole cycle of settling in, playing, destructing, and now settling down. We do it every day. So this isn't a revolutionary idea. This is just my articulation of it. Yours truly, whose sun is in the 8th house. And so if you enjoyed this, then come hang out with me in Facebook and my Mindfully You group, or keep showing up in YouTube for classes. I do yoga classes that help guide you. You can email me. You can go to my website, although it's highly dated. I'm going a little backwards in my ability, is that I just want more direct connection, not this, just go explore my website. But just message me, email me, reach out to me, join me in Mindfully You. It is a private Facebook group because I like boundaries, where I come on live to teach yoga twice a week and speak more on our cosmic curriculum that we're all experiencing, so that we can really understand the dialogue of the heavens and invite that into our journey on earth, which is hard, but our souls can handle it, and we're made for it. And we are here at such a wildly powerful and potent time. So if we can choose to live mindfully, that means we can choose to live consciously, and we can create with the conscious energy that's around us and really come alive in a much more authentic and true and aligned manner, so that we can live brilliantly together. Thank you so much. And I will come back to you again another time. And until then, straight from my heart to yours.